I don't mind doing that. That was the movie that kind of started my career in many ways. So for me to, to be avoidant talking about it would be a bit silly.
Hi, sir. It's nice to meet you again, man. How you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you, Chris. And Taron is more than adequate.
Fair enough. Now, as a guy who does a lot of interviews, has got a lot of fans, what's one question you always get asked that you kind of wish nobody would ever ask again?
No, I don't. I mean, generally I don't get asked things that I'm not comfortable with, There's something inherently quite awkward about answering a question that you've answered a number of times, but that is sort of the name of the game. So that's my problem to deal with rather than me trying to change what people ask me. It's very rare that I get asked something that makes me feel uncomfortable, touch wood. But yeah, sorry, that's a really dull answer. I get asked a lot about doing a third Kingsman film, which is something that I would love to do, but is outside of my control. But I don't mind doing that. That was the movie that kind of started my career in many ways. So for me to to be avoidant talking about it would be a bit silly. But yeah, other than that, nothing springs to mind.
I think that's a really nice way to answer that question, man. It shows that you're a good guy. Let's settle the Die Hard debate for this movie before it even gets started. Is Carry On a Christmas movie?
For me, 100%. Absolutely. It's totally told with the intention of being consumed at Christmas. With I actually believe it's intended to be for family viewing. I think there's probably, probably a little bit grown up for a certain age, but I think, certainly appropriate for people kind of, for older children, I think it would be fine. I think, he says, famous last words.
I have a 17-year-old son. He loved it, so it was perfect for him.
Awesome. He did?
Now, Jason Bateman plays a complete psycho in this, and I was curious about your dynamic, what that was like with him off screen, considering the type of character he had to play.
I mean, he's a really lovely person to work with. He's friendly, he's totally charming, he's very easy to be with, he's very, very focused and very professional. He's been doing it for a very long time. And I was very excited at the prospect of doing this with him. I thought he was perfect casting for the role. Partly because you don't necessarily expect it of him. And I think that quality is kind of what we needed for the character. And I think we do really well in our scenes together. I'm really proud of those scenes, and I think he was the kind of perfect foil, really.
No, I agree with you, and he's still able to tap into that sort of charm that he has.
Exactly.
It was interesting to watch how dangerous he felt in this, because you don't see him like that.
He's so cold and dead-eyed in it. It's a special secret skill he has.
Now, I can only imagine how much you travel, so what's one must-have item that you always pack on your carry-on?
I gotta have a sleeping mask. As soon as the plane...
Do that same thing for me.
Yeah,
same thing.
As soon as the plane starts moving on the runway, I'm going like this. And I find that if I'm able to sort of shut things out, it helps me to fall asleep. Because if I don't have that, I keep waking up.
Yep.
How was my acting of waking up there? Did you feel good about it? Because I felt that I didn't nail it.
I think you nailed it. You're clearly a pro. I was like, for a second, I was like, oh no, this is a really bad interview. He's dozing right off.
I had that instinctive thing where I was, my bad acting alarm was going off.
No.
It goes off a lot in my head.
It's solid, dude.
Sleeping mask, and I always have my AirPods, and I quite like that feeling of being cocooned and shut off for the environment. Not because I'm not social, it just helps me fall asleep because I just want to fall asleep on planes.
Yeah, same. Have you ever accidentally packed something in your carry-on that caused you to get in a little bit of trouble with security?
No. I may have, it's been a very long time since I've consumed cannabis, but it is legal in LA and it's not legal in London, and I may have played with fire a little bit there back in the early days of me coming to LA when I was but a young 25-year-old. But yeah, nothing disastrous, but I came close.
Taron, we've all been there. Thank you so much for your time, man. I know it's a super long day, so I really appreciate your time.
No, you're a gentleman. Thanks, Chris. Take it easy.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you, Chris.
So I watched the movie with my wife, and we loved it, first of all. So thank you very much for your time. I think we should settle this debate on this movie before it even gets started. Is Carry On a Christmas movie?
What do you think?
I think yes, it is. But there are going to be people who are going to say it's not. And so I just wanted to get the opinion of you guys who are actually working on this movie.
You know, Danielle Deadwyler said brilliantly and comically, this is a Chris action movie. So I'm going to go with that. And, you know, Die Hard was very much our inspiration. And for so many people, Die Hard is their favorite Christmas movie. And I think that Christmas movies can have different genres, the romance movie, the sad movie, the comedy. So this would fall under the Christmas action movie.
I agree with you 100%. Now, Nora's situation directly impacts Ethan's decisions in the movie. So how tough is it to play a character who, for a large part of the movie, is sort of unaware of how she's affecting the story?
That's a very good question. And it was interesting, right? Because for more than 50% of the film, most of the characters are completely unaware of the excruciating circumstances in which Taron is under. And they're all, like you said, revolving around Nora Parisi and her life being at danger. So it was interesting because all the scenes with Ethan, you know, there's so much. There's another voice in his ear that she's completely unaware of that's informing all of his actions. So it was very, you know, interesting to play with that.
Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but in the spirit of Die Hard, since you brought that up, the film ends in a way that I think we could definitely see more of Ethan and Nora. So would you be down to return for a sequel and get a little bit more action if there's interest there?
Absolutely. I think it'd be so fun. And you're right, it very much leaves us in a way, you know, Ethan is a cop, he's in the academy, he puts his badge down, and who knows, carry on may carry on.
I apologize for these surface level questions because I mean I love the movie, but there's so many twists and turns that I'm like I don't want to spoil anything.
All good.
But what's one thing that you always have to have with you on your carry on?
Apart from my cell phone, I would say like my go-to snacks that I travel with.
Do you have what are some of your go-to snacks?
It's really boring and really healthy, but it's because I travel so often. It's easier to kind of have the things that, you know, you enjoy, but also kind of keep you healthy when you travel. So it's like a protein bar, it's like instant oatmeal, it's stuff like that that I'll keep in my carry-on.
Have you ever accidentally packed something in your carry-on that caused you to get into a little bit of trouble with security?
No, never trouble.
Maybe not trouble, maybe stop by security.
I do have, you know, as a girl, I'm a fan of fashion, of shoes and purses that are very interesting. And I remember when I first started traveling to LA, when I was in high school, to first go on my first meetings in the industry, I had these very high, kind of eccentric heels that would always get stopped in security because it looked like a weapon. And it was just literally high heels.
Now, this is a little off topic, but I'm with Comic Book, so I wanted to bring up how you got to voice Sandgirl in a couple episodes of Spider-Man
a few
years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, so are there any particular comic book characters that you're hoping to play in live action one day?
I am a huge fan of Wonder Woman. So I was like, is there a Wonder Girl? Is there another universe of Wonder Woman? But I think
believe they're in need of a new Wonder Woman, if I understand correctly. I think, you know, James Gunn's got a whole new
universe.
So.
Yeah, Wonder Woman has always been a huge inspiration of mine in terms of the action universes and the comic book universes. I love what she represents for women. So I've always been a fan. And I loved Gal Gadot.
Yeah, I do too. I think she's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Sophia.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You too. Happy holidays.
You too. Hi, Danielle. It's so nice to meet you.
Chris, what's up? I am happy to meet you.
First off, I love the movie, so thank you very much for your time. Me and my wife watched it. We both loved it. I want to go ahead and get this out of the way. Let's settle the Die Hard debate for this movie before it even gets started. Is Carry On a Christmas movie?
It is a Christmas movie.
Thank you. I thought that was the case as well.
Yep.
Now, there's a pretty intense scene that takes place in a moving car. I don't want to spoil it. But
spoil it. I've talked about it all day.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But how long did it take you guys to film that? And what was your reaction to seeing the finished scene?
It took 2 days, I believe. It took 2 to 3 months to prepare. And I was elated. Me and my team, we watched it together. And, you know, it's just dope. Like, you know all of the work that goes into something, and then, nobody sees post-production when they get their hands on it. And so it was funny. I think I was on the flight with a post-production editor who was working on some stuff when we had just literally finished shooting. So it's just a delight to see everybody's work come to fruition, and for it to be so seamless, and to have the intensity and the fun that it has and where it is located in the film. It just gives it that burst of energy. And so this is the kind of stuff that you want to do when you sign up to do an action movie. You want to do the hyper physical thing, you want to do the challenging thing, and it looks beautiful, and I loved it, and I think folks are going to enjoy it too.
Now, as somebody who I imagine travels a lot, what's one thing that you always have to have with you on your carry-on?
I travel only when I have to. And I always have... No, I just take my personal bag. But I have a few books. I have some Aquaphor. And I have my phone and my headphones.
Yeah, that's good. That's a solid list.
Yeah.
Have you ever accidentally packed something in your carry-on that caused you to get in a little bit of trouble with security?
Yes, but I'm not telling you what it is.
I'll tell you what mine is.
You can tell me. I'm listening.
Okay, it was deodorant. I didn't know that there's metal in deodorant, but apparently my brand of deodorant, they're like, so I found out that the brand of deodorant I had, that's how I learned about aluminum in deodorant, because they were like, it stops us sometimes. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess I should probably switch brands then, because that doesn't sound healthy.
No. That's crazy. Well, I do try to use a certain kind of deodorant.
Now, one last thing I want to ask you is that, you've got a lot of great movies under your belt on your filmography now, but one thing you've yet to appear in, correct me if I'm wrong, is a comic book film. And I work for Comicbook.com, so I was curious if that's something that you'd have any interest in participating in, or if there are any characters that you'd be interested in tackling.
You know what? I'm interested in how something comes out, right? Like, how's it structured? What's it saying about the present world? And so I'm open to it. I don't count anything out. I'm all here for experimentalism, and the comic book realm would totally be inviting for that. My son loves comic books, so yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Danielle. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.